Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wilhelm Scream, and welcome back to another day in Destiny 2 for some more Destiny 2 news and Lightfall Season of the Witch intel. And this video is going to be a short one, and I'm sure a recap for the majority of you, but there are always new players to the game and some players who just need a reminder. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down why this week is the absolute best time to farm out endgame armor solo. And of course, then we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive on how to allocate the absolute best stats for said armor once you acquire it, if you're looking for those triple 100s or possible quadruple 100 stat bonuses. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn on the bell, the post notifications so you never miss out on any future Destiny 2 Lightfall content like this. You can also follow me on Instagram or Twitter. They'll be linked in the description box down below. And of course, remember to stick around till the end of the video for that secret hashtag you can leave in the comments section. Now, this week's featured dungeon is the Grasp of Avarice. Now, of course, you will need the Bungie 30th Anniversary Pack in order to access Grasp of Avarice, but if you do, this particular dungeon, which in my opinion is the easiest one to farm, especially for solo players, you will need, of course, to do this on the Master difficulty, but it does award Artifice armor. Now, again, that's only at the Master level difficulty, but don't let that dissuade you too much because this is a very easy dungeon to do with the power scaling being what it is and what the power cap being what it is currently. So if you're anywhere in the 215 range, you're going to be fine doing this. Though I would say maybe bring one teammate with you just to help facilitate this farm in the best possible action because you're going to be saving checkpoints. Because this is the featured dungeon, you can save a checkpoint at any one of the 3 encounters. Now, Grasp of Avarice is known, of course, for the Ogre encounter and the final boss encounter, but most people forget that there's actually 3 encounters in Grasp of Avarice. There's the first, which is the Ogre, the second, which actually requires you to shoot the batteries to open the portal, and then the third, which is the boss. I actually think the second encounter might be the easiest, though it's probably the longest, but definitely the easiest to do solo. Before we get in a little bit more to Grasp of Avarice, let's talk about stats. So now we're going to break down how you can actually get the best allocation of stats on the Artifice armor once you actually acquire it. Now, of course, Artifice armor gives you that extra mod slot, but that's not the only thing you want. You want the best stats as the armor drops as possible. Now, the way you get the best possible stats is by having an exotic ghost shell, and then equipping the mod for the stat bonus that you want. Now, you can get any stat bonus for any one particular stat, but the only one that you're ever really going to want to have equipped is Discipline. Now, that's because of the way that the stats are broken down. They're actually broken down into 2 columns. You wouldn't know that just by looking at them, but there's actually a top column and a bottom column. Now, the top column has mobility, has resilience and recovery, and the bottom column has discipline, has intellect, and strength. When you allocate a stat bonus to one of these columns, you will actually have a default sent to the opposite column. So, you want to pick a stat bonus that you want. Now, the 3 most desirable stats to have are recovery, discipline, and resilience. The reason you want to select Discipline is because when you do, any armor that drops will favor that stat, so you will always get a good Discipline drop. But what Bungie does not tell you is the rest of the stats on that armor will be shifted to the second column. So, the odds of getting a piece of armor that has high resilience, high recovery, and high discipline is basically jumped is increased by having the Discipline mod equipped. Now, there is a chance, of course, that you might get a piece of armor that has high mobility, which, if you're on a Hunter, can come in handy. But if you're on a Warlock or a Titan, maybe a throwaway. However, the odds are pretty good. Let's say you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting the exact stats on the armor that you want. So that's why you want to pick Discipline. Again, if you allocate your stat bonus to Discipline, the armor that you get will default all the rest of the stats into that other column, thus giving you a chance to get the other two stats that you want, as Resilience and Recovery are in the top column. It's not that difficult to understand, but it's something that I think most players do not know, as it's very much inside baseball, and Bungie never does anything to tell you that this is how it works, but it is how it works. Now, going back into the Grasp of Avarice, as I said, the second encounter is actually probably the easiest one to do as a solo player, though I would actually think that the Ogre encounter is probably the fastest overall if you do have a group, or if you're doing this as a solo player, it might be the quickest if you can get it down to a science, though it can be a little bit difficult, as for some reason that Ogre really has some trick shots and can shoot you around corners that they probably shouldn't be able to. The final encounter, maybe not the best, simply because it is long, pretty hard to do solo. There's a lot of different adds that come into that particular encounter that you wouldn't see elsewhere, and there will be a fair bit of champions in that particular encounter. You're going to have at least 3 barrier champions that you'll have to take care of. The second encounter, you will have a couple of champions, but you'll only have to take care of 1 at every single plate. I do believe it is Overload and Barrier champions throughout the dungeon, but remember, the way the power scaling works really favors the player in this particular dungeon now. So if you have any chance whatsoever, definitely jump into the Grasp of Avarice dungeon this week. Really not too much more I have to say about it. Second encounter, though it is the longest one, shout out to Lord Simple and Lord Sinister for helping me out with this. Poor Simple got a little caught in the teleporter there. Don't let that happen to you. Though, keep in mind that used to actually prevent you from being able to actually shoot the bomb at the target. Doesn't seem to have that problem anymore. But if you're doing this solo, I would say that's the one you want to farm out. Remember that you will need at least one other person to save a checkpoint. So I have checkpoints saved for all the encounters on my 3 different characters, and I have some friends who have other checkpoints saved, just in case, for backup. But overall, great week for farming. Don't miss out on this perfect chance to get the best possible armor in the game. A lot of people would say Duality might be a better farm. Not in my opinion. Duality is a lot more complicated. Spire of the Watcher, also quite a bit more complicated. There's really no mechanics in this particular dungeon that are difficult to understand, and I would say that the adds are probably the easiest to fight. But that's going to be it for all the information in today's video. As I said, just a quick one. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, as I said before. And if you've watched to this point, please leave a hashtag Grasp of Avarice, or a hashtag Lightfall, or a hashtag Season of the Witch in the comments section down below. And once more, I am Wilhelm Scream. Of course, we will see you next time. Later!